Welcome everyone to Kiss Meets Podcast 4K, the second coming. I am one of your hosts, the guy that drove himself crazy.
What?
Yeah. So we spent the last hour and a half here. We were trying to bring you guys this episode live. We ran into a lot of technical difficulties. We've never gone live before. We couldn't figure out what we were doing wrong or what. So if anyone can maybe give us some little pointers by chance. So we just decided to, hey, let's do it this way, the old way. We had to get this done anyway. And we hope to maybe get things figured out, and maybe we can go live for you guys for the next episode. And who knows, if we get it ironed out, maybe it'll be an ongoing thing, just to, because I feel like it'd be a little easier for all you guys to interact with us. What better way than doing it live? I think it'd be a lot funner too, and get some extra conversations going too by chance. So we definitely want to work that out, and we're sorry we weren't able to make that happen for this episode, but we promise we're going to try to get it all figured out here. So anyway, this week, of course, we are back to a Kiss album compilation, of course, Chikara. Pretty eclectic mix of stuff here, kind of heavy on the 80s era of Kiss, and nice collection of stuff here. A few little different things that they threw on here, and we'll get to those. But nothing real Kiss related that I could think of in the news and everything. So we're just gonna jump into this, get into some comments and all the usual stuff, polls. And after we're done with the album, we also have another little extra special thing for this show too that we're gonna discuss as well. So let's just get on into it.
Yeah. A couple of comments we got. On our Vinnie Vincent Invasion All Systems Go episode, we got a comment from Robbie Stars. He says, I totally love this album. His top three were Ecstasy, That Time of Year, and Ashes to Ashes. He says, I give this a 9. Guitar solos are more melodic and better songs than on his debut. Rock on.
Absolutely.
Definitely. So get that added in there. We also had a comment from Robbie on last week's episode, Fraley's Comet Second Sighting. He says, Into the Night and Rock Soldiers are the only songs I like off this album. Second Sighting is my favorite Fraley album and is truly underrated in my opinion.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also got Steve and Rochelle McGowan's picks for Kiss Chikara, this week's album. Steve gave this album a 6 out of 10. His top three were War Machine, I Love It Loud, and Creatures of the Night. Bet you can't tell what his favorite album is. And Rochelle's gave this an 8 out of 10, and her top three were Lick It Up, Heaven's on Fire, and Tears Are Falling.
If only Wiped Out was on this album, that would have been Steve's number one.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so for polls, a lot of weird stuff we had last week. The first matchup was God of Thunder versus Anything for My Baby. Which, I mean, let's face it, it's not surprising at all. God of Thunder won that with 73% of the vote.
Surprised it wasn't more, honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything, again, was kind of a blowout this week. So our second matchup was Keep Me Comin' versus She. She won with 71%. Again, not surprised, but I was a little disappointed Keep Me Comin' didn't put up a better fight on that one.
Yeah, I totally thought that was going to be more neck to neck, too.
Yeah. Yep. And then our final, the most interesting one for last week was While the City Sleeps versus Murder in High Heels, the two kind of Gene songs from the end of Animalize. And yes, our random Kiss song generator did pick two songs that are already next to each other in the discography. It's random. While the City Sleeps won that with a 70% of the vote, and we did have several people who felt the need to let us know both those songs suck.
Yes.
So thanks, I guess.
Hey, one of them had to win, so hey, it's up to you guys to vote it out of there and win the next round. It's if it sucks that bad. So
right,
Yep.
and in round 2, when that comes around, which will be forever from now, it's gonna pit While the City Sleeps against She. So I mean,
oh jeez, Might as well just give she a bye.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. So we know about that. This week's three polls are a little bit. They're interesting. They're interesting in an interesting way, really. First matchup for this week is "Rock Me Baby" versus "Love's a Slap in the Face."
There you go again. Which song sucks the worst?
Peter Criss solo album versus "Hot in the Shade." So
Yeah.
interesting. Our second matchup is "Take Me Down Below" versus "Love's a Deadly Weapon."
Mm.
Honestly, at this point, I genuinely really hope that "Love's a Slap in the Face" and "Love's a Deadly Weapon" both win, so that they end up next to each other in round two.
That
Just,
would be nice. Yeah.
it's funny, just both are Gene songs and both are him trying to say what love is. I guess I don't know.
I feel
Uh,
like that one's going to be a pretty surprising match because I think those are two that are kind of more liked deep cuts, let's say, than the ones from last week. But
right.
Yes.
And really, I don't know why you'd want to take love advice from Gene, especially at this point, since as we know several years later in a certain tape, he wants to know what love is.
No.
So he clearly
on.
doesn't know, even after all these
Yeah.
exclamations.
No.
oh,
Oh,
Yeah, we found a way to work that in this week.
yes,
we should find a way to work that in every episode.
So our final matchup in this week's polls, Exciter versus Lick It Up.
yeah, that's a tough one.
Yeah.
Very very interesting matchup there. So of course got plenty of more interesting matchups to come. We're still not even halfway through round one, so
It's getting there.
definitely get in there and let us know what you think with all that.
Absolutely.
We are getting some pretty awesome feedback with these. Even if it's just everybody saying both songs suck, it's still fun to watch all the comments come in.
Absolutely, yeah. That's the thing about it when you're trying to figure out what is the best song. Hey, sometimes you're not going to have the greatest songs up against each other, and then they get weeded out. It's the process of elimination.
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
So some
Gassy McGee.
gas. Yeah,
It's my chair.
sure it is. That's what they all say. So how about some information for Chikara?
It's a comp album. All right, let's get into it.
What does it mean?
That's basically it. So
Power.
Chikara, yeah, it's the Japanese symbol of power, or symbol for power, rather. And Eric Carr had it all over his drums in this era of Kiss.
I wonder if he's the one that brought that in, like that whole idea and, you know, representing the band and, you know, that whole logo and everything. I wonder if that was, only his idea or how that came about.
Right, I am curious about that. I don't know. So interestingly, you can check out the cover for this. Of course, it's the Kiss logo. Each of the four guys is in a letter of Kiss. Gene doesn't have red behind him. For some reason, it's blue. And then both Eric and Bruce kind of have a purplish pink. So they kind of abandoned their colors. But then it just says Chikara, which is interesting because this was a Japan-only release. And they put English writing on there instead of the Japanese symbol. I don't know.
It was limited too, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, I believe it, as usual with the Japanese releases, I think it had an OVI strip on the side that was all in Japanese, but I've never, well, I think we saw this at the expo the other year, but I've never really seen it in person. I have no clue what the back cover looks like or what, if there's a booklet that included any other, photos or whatnot. I'm not sure exactly how in detail they got with it.
Right. Yeah. It is. It would be interesting to see one of these. Yeah, only 100,000 copies, so of course it's long out of print. This was released May 25th, 1988, so basically directly before Crazy Nights came out. Apparently, copies included sew-on patches of the Chikara symbol. Very interesting. Pretty much the only other super interesting thing about this CD is that this CD is one of two times they have released the 12-inch single version of I Was Made for Loving You. This and the 4-track Psycho Circus single about a decade later, actually. Wikipedia also says that the booklet incorrectly lists all 3 of the Creatures of the Night tracks as remixes. These tracks were taken from the 1985 remaster of the album. Only the title track is remixed.
It said the second time I was made for loving you was on the Psycho Circus thing. It says.
Right.
I would think that's the third. It would be technically the third because that was released on the 12-inch single version that they released too, the vinyl.
Right. Well, I guess maybe I didn't say this. This is one of 2 times it's been on CD.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, definitely sort of a rare version, if you will, but...
And for good reason.
They have it for sale online. We should get it.
Yeah. So, of course, the lineup on this CD is a little bit... the lineup of Kiss at the time was Paul, Gene, Bruce Kulick, and Eric Carr. Of course, the lineup changes since this is a compilation album throughout the songs.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see here. Obviously didn't need to take as many notes, which was kind of nice, but just a few little things here and there on each song. So we start off the compilation. What better way than starting it off with the national anthem, Rock and Roll All Night. And this is my number 2. This is, just the basic studio version from Dress to Kill. But again, as I said before, I totally love this version. I know a lot of people lean towards the live version, but just something about this one is always, I've kind of liked a little bit better. I think I said it back in the Dress to Kill. I think a lot of it has to do with Kiss Meets the Phantom, that whole opening scene with this version playing over that, and and then just little things that stand out on this version that the live version doesn't have. So yeah, love this version, always have. Never gets old to hear it for me.
This one was my number 14. It's not because it's a bad song, but it's just because I like all the other ones so much better. Like,
she gave White Tiger a 10. Remember that?
I just remember that.
We gotta stop with that. My favorite thing about this song has always been the bass tone, though. The bass is just so groovy. It helps to just make this song what it is. I've always kind of wondered, though, not that this is a bad song at all. Like, it's a great song, but it's like, I wonder how this got to be the one that everybody knows. You know what I mean? Like, because there's just so many better songs by Kiss that I feel like should be recognized over this one. But it's that classic, anthem, when you start to talk about Kiss to somebody, this is the one song that they always know,
Right.
I mean, it's a good thing that they have a song like that, but I feel like there's just so many more that are like, I wish they would be recognized for, I was at work the other day and I was singing, I think, War Machine, and nobody knew what I was singing. I'm like, how do you people not know this song? Like, it just like floored me. I'm like, but yeah, so I mean, that's the only reason why it was the last one for me, was because it's a great song. It's always it's hyped, it gets you pumping, but it's just all the other songs that were on this album were just so much better for me.
Yeah.
Personally.
I mean, you said it yourself. It's an anthem, and that's what got people behind it. And of course, the live version kind of translated better with that whole, the energy and the atmosphere, and you can't end a show without Rock and Roll All Night, with all the confetti and everything else going on. I mean, it's like blasphemy if they were to do that.
Right, yeah. I agree.
Yes. Number 11 for me on this one. Geez, like a breath of frickin' fresh air. Now, I'm one of those that go on about the live version of this song a lot. It has the power. It has the guitar solo, especially. I hate it when Kiss records a song with no guitar solo, and then live they do a solo, and it just makes it perfect.
Mm-hmm.
put it in the freaking studio version.
Yeah.
It would have made it so much better. But at this moment, we've been doing the weird stuff for too long, and man, the studio version just hit me right where it's at.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, God, this is good.
It really was. Like, and to be honest, I just heard Rock and Roll All Night yesterday. Like, some TV show I was watching played a little bit of it, but still, to hit play, and that was the first thing to come on. It was still just like, like I said, it never gets old. I don't care how many times I listen to it. It just always does something.
Yep. I'm actually excited to review this album just because I haven't done a Kiss album with you guys
Yeah,
yet.
exactly.
So,
Like, hearing your input already just on Rock and Roll All Night alone,
yeah.
that says a lot. So, all right, so we go into track number 2, which is Detroit Rock City. This is my number 7, and for some reason they decided to. Well, first of all, this is the studio version, but for whatever reason they decided to include that whole intro thing instead of just, like I think Luke said earlier, the double platinum version probably should have been, which I agree, that should have been the version on here because
Yeah.
that's the one I tend to lean towards nowadays. I mean, yeah, that intro thing, it's epic or whatever, but anymore, like I just want to hear the song. Like I get kind of bored sitting and listening through that whole little intro thing all the time, and so yeah, kind of weird, especially putting this as track number 2 with that opening sequence. That should have just been the double platinum version, in my opinion. But again, Detroit Rock City, another, you can put it right up there with Rock and Roll All Night. It's a staple. Um, Maybe this is the second most known Kiss song, possibly. I don't know, but seems like a lot of people tend to know it. So, yeah, number 7 for me on this one.
This one was my number 13. And again, not because it's a bad song at all, but just because the other songs are just so much better for me personally. Um, but it's also, this is in the top 5 Kiss songs that everyone knows, but it's there for a good reason.
Yeah.
The drums are strong, guitar is strong, bass is definitely strong, and of course Paul's vocal. I mean, they just all around make this one of the better Kiss songs. You can't help but sing along to it, you know. Um, and again, that bass tone and the drum fill at the end are my 2 favorite things about this song.
Yeah, it's a great show opener, and
Yes, and I agree though. If they were going to keep that intro, like, why didn't they just open the whole compilation with that?
right.
If they were gonna include that, they should have just opened the whole album with that. It would have made a little more sense, I think. But
Yeah.
they may not have done that just because "Rock and Roll All Night" is like the number 1 Kiss song.
Yeah.
Like, maybe
And
that's why they did it like that.
It's kind of going in chronological order too.
Yeah, that's true too. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Your turn.
Yes. So this was also my number 7. And yeah, of course, it's just, Detroit Rock City is Detroit Rock City. I've always loved that song. A band that I was in that did a lot of cover songs, even though two of the 4 members were not Kiss fans at all, we still did this song because it's just a good song. But yeah, I wasn't expecting the Destroyer version. I figured they'd go with the double platinum. It was cool, but it was weird. And also, just on the intro bit, the rest of the song sounded normal, but I feel like there was a weird reverb on that intro that I don't remember being in the original. And I don't know if I'm remembering that wrong, but everything just it felt unreal because of that reverb, and it ruined it a little bit.
Yeah, they may had added a little something in there. All right, so next up is Love Gun, and this is my number 6. Again, we have the studio version here, but to me, it sounded like this one was messed with a little bit. The low end didn't feel as present as it does on the regular version, and the highs and mids were almost a little bit tinny to me in this version. Um, Seems like the vocals had a little bit of reverb on it too than what I normally tend to hear in the original. So again, I definitely think they did a little bit of remastering on this track. But again, Love Gun, another just staple. I love that Ace solo, and when it gets to the I mean, that's such like an epic little hook section there. And I love that they use this song at the beginning of the Detroit Rock City movie, so that again you kind of get those images in your head of that as you're hearing the song nowadays. And which I need to watch that movie again. It's been quite a long time since I've watched it last. But.
Yeah. This one was my number 8. I've always loved the drums in this song. It doesn't. I don't think the fills are too complicated, but there's just something about them that sets them apart for me in this song. I feel like I would like playing this if I were a drummer. I feel like I would be groovy with this, you know. And the solo in the song, it's one of my favorite Ace solos. And the bass, I mean, Gene's tone is just on point. Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah, like I love it.
especially live, like like on the and then he adds
Yeah.
like a little like
Yes, yes,
like even that just
yeah.
12 for me on this one. Again, it's just the solo. I wish that they included the live guitar solo in the studio version of the song. It just, to me, it makes the song better overall. Having said that, it was a pretty cool jump from Detroit to Love Gun. They kind of cut out the space in between the tracks, and it just pow right in. I liked that really good. The other reason that it's kind of low on the list, besides the guitar solo, is that for some reason having that back to back with the nice Bob Ezrin full production just made it feel a little empty. And I don't know if they mastered it weird and it made the bottom end seem not so good on Love Gun, or if it's just the difference in production style from Bob Ezrin to Eddie Kramer, but didn't hit me quite as well as I was hoping.
I still think they did something, because I swear listening to the original mix, it has a little more low end, but
Yeah.
could be wrong. Let's see. So next in, we get into that "I Was Made for Loving You" extended version. This was my number 8. Definitely a lot of differences in this version. Obviously, for one, it's much longer. I think it clocks in at almost 8 minutes long. There's definitely the added percussion throughout the whole thing. Little vocal swells before, like the lyrics come in, and a little more to it as well. But this was that version that you would have heard back in like Studio 54 and all those disco club days. Like
Yeah.
it helped keep Kiss pretty relevant at the time. So again, it was kind of cool, because I've heard the regular version so much. It was kind of cool to hear this one, because I've never really listened to the extended version that much in my life, and it was kind of nice to kind of hear a different take of it after so long. But yeah, still wasn't exactly my favorite.
This one was my number 4. And I think that it was so high because this has always been one of my favorite Kiss songs. And that, like you said, that vocal swell that they added, I just thought that was such a cool ad for this song. Like, it just gave it a different dimension almost.
Yeah.
It gave it like a different like style almost, and I think it just added so much to it. And then it sounds like kind of like I noticed maybe like a keyboard effect behind the choruses at different points, and I mean I just love that. I thought that was so cool. Um, I loved all the effects, the length, and the additions that they put in this version of the song, because it was just like I said, it's always been one of my favorite Kiss songs. So it was just, to me, it was cool because it was different.
Right.
So I think that's why it was so high on my list, because I just liked it because it was just so different, and they didn't. I don't feel like they ruined it at all. So I liked it a lot. Okay.
Screw what she said. This song is
14.
horrible.
It's not horrible.
This is my number 14.
Knew that.
Yeah. I don't dislike this song at all. I dislike this version of this song. right from the start, I noticed the shaker track sounds different than the original, which I thought was interesting. It sounded more like a tambourine than a shaker. I'm still not sure which one it was. And the differences from the original are just weird. Like, I'm not 100% sure they're bad, but the fact that it's just not the original, it's putting me off. I didn't like the fade-in vocal reverb. It was cool the first couple of times, but in the second verse, it happened like 3 times almost in a row, and by then it was just annoying. And then possibly I could have looked past every bit of that if not for the completely arbitrary repeat of the first verse and then second chorus. Completely unnecessary. The bridge thing going twice was unnecessary. If I can help it, I will never listen to this version of this song again.
Oh, no, screw what you say. You're wrong. I'm going to make you listen to it every day.
Just things they did to extend the dance parts for people in the clubs, that's all.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but for some reason, this version was like, I was picturing them like in the Marvel Comics thing. Like, for some reason, it was just giving me that superhero image that Kiss had at that time. And I was just kind of picturing them flying around in those comics and stuff. I don't know why, but some reason the regular version never does that to me, but this one did with its little bells and whistles. So then we get into, excuse me coughing. We get into the next 3 tracks are the remixes. First we have Creatures of the Night, and this is my number one. Really, the only difference I notice is they just took some of the balls out of the kick drum. It's not as boomy, and also I feel like you could kind of hear the vocals a little bit clearer because of that, which really made me like this version, just as much, if not a tad bit better than the original album version. So I don't know. I may end up kind of giving this version the kind of more of a go-to than the regular one from now on. Who knows?
This was my number 7. Um, and I noted that a lot of the songs on this album are a lot of my favorite Kiss songs.
There you go.
This one's definitely up there for sure. It's always been just so heavy, it's in your face, and I love that about it. The drums have this echo to them, and it helps add to the dimension of this song, this album, really. Eric Carr has always been my favorite Kiss drummer. And he definitely made his mark with the band. And have you ever listened to a song and you can't wait for it to end, but it's because you just love the ending of it so much?
Yeah.
That's the song for me. I love the ending of this song. It's so solid. It's such a, it cuts off, but it's just such a great cutoff,
Mm-hmm.
When it starts, I'm like, I can't wait for it to end just because I love the ending of it. And then I just replay it so I can hear it again.
And then like the Alive 3 version, I just cannot wait for that intro to kick in, because
Yes.
the way they did that live, just
Perfect. I thought something sounded different about that ending on this version too. I couldn't quite put my finger on it, and it wasn't super different, just a little bit different. I need to compare those two and just see if it's maybe I was imagining things. Number 8 for me on this one. Just it's the version again. This would have been my number 1, but I dislike this version. It's a little bit too much on the reverb, I think. Clouds the song a little bit too much. But then, it's Creatures of the Night, man. The low end on the low toms is great.
Yes.
I put freaking nice on here. I keep putting freaking, I don't know why. Freaking mood, I guess. And then, of course, enter the classic Eric Carr double hi-hat tracks, which on a few of the 80s tracks here, too. But, I definitely want to compare the original to this again for that ending. Something seemed different. I couldn't quite figure it out.
And that elevator shaft reverb standing out. All right, next one is I Love It Loud. Gave this number 9. Again, the same exact thing with this. Just really a difference in drums is the main thing. But thank God it is not the horrible Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits version. I was so worried that that's what this was going to be. So I was glad to at least hear that the least they did was just take a little of the low out of the drums and a few other things. So very relieved, but yeah, still number 9. But always one of my favorite Kiss songs, especially off Creatures. That drum intro is so, it's so basic but yet so freaking powerful. There's freaking again, and it just slams you in the face, man. And then of course that yeah, I mean, just it still gives me goosebumps to this day every time I hear that song. And of course that whole trick at the end with the fade out and then it comes back in, and just very cool. And again, the video, I've ranted and raved about that video. I absolutely love that music video. Like, just the way it looks like it could still compete with today's standards. Like, something about the film they used or something, it just looks so vivid and the colors are all there, and just a fantastic video, especially being that Creatures era. So
This was my number 12. And it's, I mean, when this song starts, you could just tell it's going to be a great one. That drum beat is so heavy and it's so pounding, and you think, oh, yeah, here we go. And then it's followed with that group vocals, and then just like right off the bat, this song's going to get your heart pumping. It's going to get your head banging. It's not a real complex song, but I mean, you just want to yell with it, you know? And I think this song is a perfect example of why Kiss is just so great. They do songs that can be simple, but they're just so powerful, you know? And there's just so much power behind it, and I love that about this band, how they can do that. They can write the most simple stuff it's just basic, it's not really a lot of complication to it, but it's just so good. Like, there's nothing bad about it at all.
yeah, and it can
It's
still
just
be considered heavy. It doesn't have to
right.
be full of double bass and blast beats or whatever else.
Yes.
Like.
Yes. Yep. I love it. I love it.
I love it.
9 for me as well. Geez, man, any other drum sound would ruin this song.
Yeah.
It was.
Could you imagine this with like the Hotter Than Hell drum sound?
It'd be a joke.
Oh, no.
I love it flat. I still feel like, speaking of flat, I still feel like the guitar tone makes the song a tiny flat. That's just something they've never fixed. Even when they redid it on Sonic Boom Disc 2, just
Ugh, that was even worse.
Yeah, but this is still the quintessential version of this song. Screw Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits.
God.
I hate that album because this song is on it. I could deal with every other weird remix they did. I love Let's Put the X in Sex. I like You Make Me Rock Hard. I Love It Loud ruins that CD.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Ugh.
And then, of course, the fade back in. You can't not bring that up. I love that part, especially the little bass runs. Do, 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 do. It's almost eerie.
Those little, like, during the chorus that, I want to hear it right between, and then the bass would be like, doo-doo-doo-doo.
Yes.
Yeah, don't forget the Rock and Roll All Night on Smashes, how atrocious that was, too.
Yeah. And this was like less than a year later that came out.
Yeah. So next up, completing the Creatures remix songs is War Machine. This is my number 3. Again, same thing as the other two, but again, War Machine is just another one that just gets the blood pumping. That intro riff, God, just you just want to pound your fist like it's the '80s. And again, it's that heaviness to it, but yet it sounds simple. But that it's like the tone of the guitar, the drums, everything. Gene's vocals, and then picturing them up there in that the Creatures outfits and everything, it just gives it all that perfect mix and attitude. And that I always picture that Tank on the stage when I hear this song in particular, and just love this song, always have.
This one's my number 11, and it's one of my favorite Gene songs. I usually tend to like Paul's songs better, like vocal wise, most of the time, but this is just one of the best Gene songs. There's so much power and emotion in the song, and it makes it like have this grittiness to it, and I love that about it. And the solo in this song is just it's just crazy. it feeds into the main riff and then that drum beat so smoothly, and it definitely makes this one of the greatest Kiss songs and one of the greatest Gene songs. Like, it's just, I love it. I'm gonna say that about every one.
Yeah.
You say freaking, and I say I love it.
Yeah, again, every song on here could have probably been a number one in any other form, but
It really could have,
yeah.
yeah.
Another one of them things where we have to rank them a certain way. So
Yes, and it was hard.
yeah,
This is another song that I've had several people who are not Kiss fans tell me, but I like that one.
yeah,
Which is strange. I never expected to hear War Machine. Detroit Rock City, that's one of the bigger ones. That makes sense. But for somebody who's not a Kiss fan to know War Machine, I always found interesting.
yeah, just weird.
We're matching a strange amount suddenly. This is also my number 3.
Well, we're back to a Kiss album. That's why.
Yeah. Now this one seemed to me like there was a little bit less reverb on it than the original. Still great, didn't take away from it at all, but it was just a difference that I just don't remember. Maybe I'm imagining that, but this one is super high up on my list because just the mood that I was in. I'm remembering this was one of my favorite solos to play live when we were in Sweet Pain. This one and Tears Are Falling were my favorite solos. And then I had almost forgotten about the album ending for War Machine because it's different than they ever ended it live. And it's cool because it's weird. Who thought of that?
Right.
Where the drums just end with a snare before everybody else, the riff finishes, and then there's just this weird whammy bar rumble. Who thought of that? You know?
I like that impression you did just there.
Yeah. And again, speaking of the tank, like on the tour, that where it would go back into the dun and that tank was shooting those sparks out.
Yes.
Like, oh, so cool.
I've gotten goosebumps so many times while
Yes.
doing this.
All right, so kind of getting out of the order of things here, we go back to Love Gun, or I'm sorry, not Love Gun, Lick It Up. So we're not out of order. Just had a stroke there. Sorry, excuse me. This is my number 10. Sounds again like a remaster to me. The drums felt like they sounded a bit more punchy all the way through, which I really liked though. It kind of brought more life to them than the original studio track. It definitely sounded better to me a little bit.
This one's my number 9. I don't have one song on this album that I don't like.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the longer it goes, the better it gets.
Right.
They chose the perfect songs for this album.
Yeah.
Lick It Up is a fantastic Kiss album. It actually has my favorite Kiss song of all time on it. It's just a great song that has a meaning of just, live your life, don't get stressed, enjoy yourself. And there's a little guitar lick that happens right before the start of the second verse. That's always been my favorite part of this song. Yes. But the chorus of this song is just what makes this song. You have to sing it when you hear it. And I mean, they have a lot of songs that have that quality, but this is just one of the better ones.
Yeah. And I always have to mention the demo version, how it sounds like a 80s aerobic song. Like it's so like fast paced, and that beat, it just sounds like some 80s aerobic thing.
Wearing leg warmers and headbands.
Yes, exactly. Jane Fonda.
Yes.
Yep, 13 for me on this one, and this is another of the many songs I feel like just is better live. Maybe not so much now, because as we've discussed many times, just kind of tired of the Who thing in there.
Yeah, and I wish that was the end of the road for that, but they're still doing it.
Yeah. It was cool at first, but it's been like a decade.
We've had enough now.
But yeah, the 80s live version and even the 90s live version, say the Alive 3 version, to me feels more quintessential than this. I love the studio version, except it doesn't have the solo. It doesn't have some of the middle bits. It doesn't have the da 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 that bit, which is classic for this song for me. But that's why this one's a little low. What I really, really did like that caught me completely off guard was hearing this song back to back with War Machine.
Yeah.
Because it really highlighted the similarities and difference between the production style of Creatures versus Lick It Up. And interestingly, especially the drum sound. The reverb is similar on the songs, but somehow Lick It Up's reverb on the drums feel a bit more laid back and kind of appropriate to let other stuff through. Whereas on Creatures, it's kind of like the defining feature of that album for some people is the drum reverb.
Right.
And it was cool to hear the progression, how they were still able to integrate that huge drum reverb, but not make it straight in your face for every album after that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad that these days I can't even remember how they used to do the middle section and Look It Up live, other than the Who thing. Because if I'm like having to be watching some older concert video, I'm like, oh yeah, I wonder how they're going to do this, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that now.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Yeah.
All right, so next in we go to All Hell's Breaking Loose, and this is my number 5. Again, just from here on out, they're all just your straight ahead studio versions, really. I didn't notice really anything different in them. But yeah, All Hell's Breaking Loose, just another great song, great Paul song, and another kind of, in a way, it's kind of an anthem in a way that, that whole chorus line and the pre-chorus is kind of a good sing-along, kind of like, we're not going to take it type of deal. Yeah, great song. Love it.
This one's my number 10. I remember the first time I ever heard this song, and I thought the talking was so weird when I first heard it, but I definitely warmed up to it. I love that now, that back and forth between the talking and then the layered vocals. Like, it's just so cool. And the guitar riff happening behind the choruses it's something that doesn't really, stick out, but once you notice it, it just helps keep the tone of this whole song.
Yeah.
The bass is so groovy. It's ultra groovy in this song. And I just love the production of this album. It's just great. The whole thing's just great.
We've said it before and we'll say it again. Gene is a very underrated bass player, and
he is. He really is.
There's plenty of songs just on this compilation that'll show you that. So
yes, right. You don't realize just how, unless you're listening for it.
Mm-hmm.
And before I knew Luke, because Luke being a musician, I never would have noticed that kind of thing, But I'm glad that now I've kind of trained my ears to listen for that kind of thing now, and it's just, I'm glad, because he is definitely just one of the best bass players. He's so underrated.
Yes.
Now, if he had actually played on most of this 80s stuff, that would be more impressive.
Well, yeah.
But yes. I am cool. I am the breeze.
It's my favorite line.
Classic Paul.
And I always liked how his voice does a little like distort there. Like, I am the breeze.
Yeah, he's so like, shut up. Is what and I love that. Yeah, number 4 for me on this one. And what really takes the cake on this one is the main riff. I freaking love this main riff. So weird and so cool. Fits the song perfect. Without this riff, this song has nothing. And this is exactly why I refused to play it in Sweet Pain when riff did not come through. If we're going to do All Hell's Breaking Loose, the freaking riff better be in there.
Right. That's basically the most signature thing of the song, really.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, next we have Heaven's on Fire. This is number 12 for me. Again, I've always, put this and Look It Up as kind of brother songs. Like, to me, they've always been like on that same pedestal and mean just as much to me. And again, just another great video. That intro with Paul doing his thing with the hands on fire, and and of course Eric in there rolling around with chicks wearing his little I think it was like a Boy Scout jacket that he had or something like that. There was a story about. But yeah, just another classic song. The whole sing along thing with the all that stuff, and Yeah, just another classic, man. It's such a good one.
This one's my number one.
Ah,
Paul's vocal in the beginning always gives me chills. It never fails. I could hear the song a million times and it would give me chills every time.
mhm.
Uh, and only Paul could sing the line "Eat it like a piece of cake," and it sound completely normal and not corny. Only he could pull that off.
With the
Uh,
hand gesture.
yes, everything about this song is just it's well put together. It's so strong with the beat, the vocals, the bass, the guitar. They all just have their own elements. They stand out individually, but they also just come together in the best way in this
Yeah.
song.
And
Uh,
again, let's not forget Mark St. John. I mean, there's a big highlight for him right there.
yep. And the drum beat behind that chorus is just oh, it just gives me chills just thinking about it. I love it so much. This is such a great song. It's always been one of my favorite, like, and probably in my top 5 favorite Kiss songs.
Yeah.
Number 10 on this one for me. This is another one I feel benefited really greatly from the live ending. This one just it needs the definite ending rather than the chorus fade out, I think. But again, really interesting to hear the back-to-back representation of the difference in production style. Jumping now from Lick It Up to Animalize, it's familiar, very similar, but a little more refined, and it made me really excited to transition into the Asylum stuff then, because now that was of course I'm grooving on the songs, Kiss songs, after all this time, but that was perhaps one of the most exciting parts of this now for me at this point in the album was just hearing how similar but more refined the production was for each album.
Hmm. Yeah, another part of that video, the baby don't stop, and when Eric just suddenly appears on Paul's shoulder, and
Yeah.
I'm still convinced every time I see that Paul did not expect that to happen, like Eric just did it, because Paul's reaction just looks, so like, pure, like what, and then he just went with it.
Yeah.
I think Paul is like, this whole band is just stuff, the unexpected happens, but they always just flow with it.
Yeah,
Like, it's like, they might be surprised by it, but they just go with it.
yeah,
And that's
that's
like one of the things that makes them so great, like as performers and stuff, because it's like they just go with anything.
yeah. Some of the happiest accidents they've done, they've turned it into signature things now for
Yes.
the band. And next up is Thrills in the Night. This is number 11 for me. And, I've said this plenty of times, but again, I just love the solo in this song. Again, I always, like, my mind always wants to think of it as a Bruce solo because of the live thing and all. But again, Mark St. John, just you know, another jewel to his crown in his short time with Kiss. I have one of my favorite Kiss solos, period. So that says a lot for him right there. Just love that tone in it, and um, just one of the first Kiss songs I remember kind of hearing on that Animalize Live Uncensored. One of the first ones that kind of stuck with me the first time I saw that, and my whole like introduction to seeing Kiss visually for the first time. So that's always kind of held that spot with me. Great stuff.
This one's my number 5. Uh, it's one of my favorite Paul songs. His vocals are just on point from start to finish in
Yeah.
the song. Um, and there's just certain Kiss songs that they just have this element to me, and they just stand out to me so much more than others. I can never quite pinpoint exactly what it is about them that makes them stand out, but I don't know if it's just it just feels like there's so much more to them. And the solo in this song is just off the charts. I love the solo in this song. And the drums, I mean, they hit you right there, in the chest. Like if you were listening to this, like with a lot of like bass and stuff around you, like that would just hit you. I just love that about this song. Excuse me.
Yeah. This is actually my number one.
Uh,
I was just really grooving on this one. Realized it's been far too long since I just listened to Animalize.
mm-hmm.
Um, and that brought to mind too when we were looking at the polls earlier on the While the City Sleeps versus Murder in High Heels, somebody had gone so far as to say this is Animalizes the worst Kiss album.
Oh no,
Oh.
absolutely not.
Yeah, and I just can't believe it. This song is one of my favorite Kiss songs of all time, just because everything on it is perfect. The leads are perfect. Paul's vocal is perfect. The songwriting is there. I can't believe this wasn't a bigger hit for them. And I challenge you to diss this song if you think this is the worst Kiss album. Really?
Yeah.
Come on.
No way. No way. Next up is Who Wants to Be Lonely? Moving into that asylum there. And this is number 13 for me. This is one of them songs I've always kind of had a love-hate with. Like, it's a good song, but it's just one that I don't tend to prefer, especially off the Asylum album alone, let alone the whole Kiss catalog. But, I mean, it definitely has its moments, the little, I want to say to, all that stuff. Like, those vocal lines are catchy and all, but, yeah, just one of those. And again, I think a lot of it has to do with that Asylum era, and the video itself just it was a bad idea. And just that visual that goes along with it. It's just one of them that's always been that way with me.
This is my number 2. And this is my second favorite Kiss song of all time.
Wow.
Only Paul could pull off the outfit that he wore in this music video and make it look good. He's the only one. I'm convinced that this man is just a creation all his own. I'm telling you. There isn't one bad thing about this song, not one thing lacking. Every element of the song is in there, and it's in top form. I love it. I can't help but like this would be in every compilation I ever make of Kiss. Like, this will be in there without fail.
I've seen a list that listed this as the best Kiss song once. That was a shock.
I saw that too.
I don't know about that.
I feel like I saw that too. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, but it's for me personally, it's definitely.
I felt like they were reaching a little bit, but hey, again, to each their own.
Right, yeah.
My favorite Kiss song, the next person would probably say no, and we'd probably say that about each other's,
Yep.
Yeah. A little off topic, I got to tell you that I now know what Pepsi tastes like in the nasal cavity. Yeah, pepper.
You're supposed to have Coke in the nasal cavity.
Yeah, exactly. I taste like pepper. It's weird. This is also my number 2. Yeah, just as interesting as I expected now. It's funny how similar these albums sound. You don't quite notice it when you just kind of intake them on their own. But you also hear that natural progression that makes sense for each set of songs. Picture this song with Creature's production. That would be stupid.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work at all. I do like their picks from the Asylum album for this compilation, but I do kind of wish King of the Mountain was on here.
Yeah.
That would have been cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing I noticed as I was grooving on this song was that, man, we haven't heard a Gene song since War Machine. So then I looked back and I was like, there's not another one coming either. There's only 3 Gene songs on this whole thing.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, I kind of realized that it's a very Paul heavy, but again, let's look at the time frame and where the band was at, and Paul was, to be honest, he was pissed off at Gene, so why not?
All right, yeah.
Make it a Paul heavy album. Next is All Night, and this is number 14 for me. And again, it's the same thing, with Who Wants to Be Lonely. It's always been a love-hate thing with this song. It's just, I don't know. As soon as I hear the intro, it's always like, it's a little boring. But then it does have its moments again with, some of the vocal hooks and whatnot. And, the video is okay. It's a little bit better than Who Wants to Be Lonely. But, yeah, it's, like I said, the Asylum era is hard to swallow. But just hearing the album itself, I've definitely developed a bigger appreciation for the album, though, over the last few years. And, try to ignore the visual, but this is just one of them songs that you can't help but visualize every time I hear it. So.
This one is my number 6. The chorus of the song is just what makes it so good. The bass is grooving, the drums are pounding, just like the message of this song. Another amazing solo. Paul does a crazy high vocal close to the end, and I really hope he didn't hurt himself when he did that because it sounded painful, but it was so good. It was so amazing. Like I was like, how did he even do that? How was that even possible?
Wonder how many takes he had to do with that.
I know, like he's always been able to hit, but that one was just like it was like how did you do that? Like I would have been like so like it would have been cool to just watch him like record that.
Yeah,
That would have been
yeah.
so cool.
Number 6 for me as well on this one, actually. I always felt like this is a bit of an underrated Kiss song, and I gotta say, when I started really listening heavily to the No Makeup Kiss, I didn't have any idea what they looked like in this era. I just had the album, so I think that's kind of helped me
Hmm.
get over that. I don't really picture them when I hear these songs. So, of course, this song is super cheesy, but I still get it stuck in my head all the time. Might be their best lyric that they ever wrote. But most
Huh?
importantly for me as a guitar player, Bruce freaking nailed the solo. There's freaking
Yes.
again, absolutely perfect Bruce solo on this song.
I agree with that. So we arrived to the last track on this compilation, which is "Tears Are Falling," and this is my number 4. Um, Now, this is one of them tracks that I definitely love. Obviously, off of Asylum, Paul songs in general, just the way he delivers that vocal and that little melody in it, just I don't know, it just sets this little mood, and of course the chorus is catchy. Another good sing along song. Kind of a different drum approach with Eric on this. That beat he's doing, it's not just a straightforward type of thing. He's kind of bouncing over to the like one of the toms in between, and um, not just a straightforward beat as it might seem to sound sometimes. But yeah, just another Kiss classic, and I think they actually just brought this one back on this tour. So it'd be interesting to see if they're going to still be doing it by the time we see them in this fall. But I'm kind of interested to hear.
Yep. This one's my number 3, and this is also my third favorite Kiss song of all time. The drums through this whole song, they just have this beat that differs at different points, but it's just so great. It all fits so well. It's one of my favorite solos, and Paul's vocals are they're just so high in just the greatest way.
Yeah,
The layered vocals are on point, and Gene's just getting down with that bass, man. It's just so good.
Yeah,
it,
Gene.
well, yeah, Gene. Hence, yeah. It was a good way to end the album, I feel.
Yeah, kind of different hearing that as a closer
Yeah.
on. Didn't think about that till now either, but
Right,
versus where it's at on Asylum.
right. Number 5 for me on that one. Pretty much all of my notes have to do with it ending, actually, ending the album. Probably a smart business move on
Mm.
their part because at this point, it probably was their biggest, newest hit. So, try and get people to listen from beginning to end so that they get to hear the new one.
You're right.
Maybe they could have picked a more appropriate closer in retrospect, just as far as songs go. But again, no, it does make sense. With the album being in chronological order and this, again, being the biggest, newest hit, why not?
That's a good way to point that out. It's kind of like they bookended them because it started off with the first big hit they had, and then end it with the new big hit. Well, I didn't think of it that way either. But yeah, that's a hell of a way to bookend them.
That's for sure. And of course, it goes without saying. I even said it earlier. This was one of my favorite solos to play live. One of my
Yeah,
favorite solos.
yeah, it was a fun song to play, especially that little intro thing that we took from a live video, whatever that was.
Yeah.
All right, so overall, um, I give this one a 3, and that's only because it's a compilation. I didn't think it would be fair to rank this higher than everything else, just because it's Kiss without it being a proper studio album. Um, Great mix of errors here. Probably about the only Kiss comp that is so heavy on the 80s material that I could really think of. Was worried about the remixes going into it, but thankfully they didn't affect the songs. The I Was Made extended version, again, was kind of nice to hear. Mainly just something different from the regular studio version, fresh on the ears for this listen. Again, this is a very strong Kiss compilation, and I would probably now put this one next to Greatest Kiss as my favorite comps. I still kind of hold Greatest Kiss a little bit above this one, but yeah, I mean, I know 3 sounds harsh, but again, just that the whole compilation layout, I just didn't find it fair to sit there and give this a 8 or a 10 or whatever. I just didn't find that fair to all the other albums that we're doing.
I gave it a 10.
Okay, well, hey, that's all right.
But I think it was just because all the songs I felt are just so strong on this album.
Yeah.
That it's just a great compilation album. There wasn't one song I didn't like or was disappointed in, and I enjoyed the extended version of "I Was Made for Loving You." I feel like this is like the perfect list if you want to experience years of Kiss on one album.
Yeah.
It went back and forth between like this good old fashioned rock to hard and heavy and like grittiness, and I just love that. A lot of these songs were ones that when I make compilations, sometimes I mean, these are most of these songs are ones that I put in compilations I've made for myself. It had a great strong opening, and I think an even stronger ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 7.5, I think, for me. I don't do 0.5s a lot, but yet 8 seemed a little excessive in this particular case. I can't even lie. It was amazing to come back to actual Kiss songs after all this time.
Right.
Some of this extra stuff has been all right. We found some good stuff that I wasn't really expecting to find, but this just proved there's no beating the main thing.
Right.
And that's why it was up there for me, because it just really, truly, for me at least, is better than all this other stuff that we've done. Being a big fan of the 80s stuff, this was probably one of the better best of albums for me personally, since they didn't mess with most of it like they did with Smashes. This was a much, much more enjoyable listen than that. I wish this had been a worldwide release instead of just Japan, just for that. Screw it, throw X and Sex and You Make Me Rock Hard on here too, and replace Smashes altogether. Great song picks. It was a fair look at their career up to that point, with a focus on the then recent stuff, which was nice to see. Again, makes sense business-wise for that time period. Looking back on it now in retrospect, not really that fair look at their career. But my only complaints really are that I could have done without the weird edit of "I Was Made for Loving You," and there needed to be more Gene songs. They're just really needed to be more Gene songs. I probably could have done without "I Was Made for Loving You" altogether, really, just because it's the only song that kind of stuck out as not like the others.
Right.
All the other ones were the rock ones. Then suddenly there's the weird disco one, and it stuck out a little bit. Again, I don't dislike that song at all, but I would have preferred the regular album version if it was going to be on there. And then I could go on all day about other songs that could or should have been on there. But I think the main one, if I could just pick one that I really think should have been on there, it's Calling Dr. Love. Again, Gene song, needed another Gene song, and they skip Rock and Roll Over.
Yeah.
They did Dress to Kill, and then Destroyer, and then Love Gun. Why not throw a Gene song in there and a big?
Yeah, why not anything from the first album either? I mean,
right, not Deuce or Black Diamond or Strange. And we've complained about that pretty much on every compilation, that there's some really weird, obvious song they didn't put on there.
Yeah.
Really, it shocked me, which at least it makes sense on this. Ace wasn't in the band at the time. Makes kind of sense that they wouldn't put Shock Me on there. But if we had listened to this album in the context of the other Kiss albums, I feel like I would have given this a lot lower rating. Might have been only a 4 of a 5. But since this was like an extremely welcome breath of fresh air, I just had to put it high because it was a great experience. I've been kind of down in the dumps just generally recently, and this helped.
Nice. Yeah, that's one thing Kiss music always does is helps the soul and the mood. At least I know for me and you and a lot of other people. So
Yep.
that's awesome. Yeah, could have done without that Detroit Rock City intro too, but
Right.
cool stuff. So can we jump into the next part of the show before we do the rankings?
One thing, real quick. Uh, I wish though that this would have came out a little later, so it could have had like a couple ballads on it. Like every time I look at you would have been perfect on
Oh,
this.
yeah,
You know what I mean? If
yeah.
it had come out by then, and it would have just like just have just one kind of slow. And I mean that's just such a beautiful song, and it would have been so good if it if this would have came out a little later, if they could have added that in there, that would have been so cool.
I've always thought they should have put out a compilation kind of similar to what the Beatles did with love songs, where it's just like all the ballad type stuff, and
Yeah,
that would have been cool.
we'll make our own.
Okay, so we're gonna jump into this next part of the show. So we wanted to give this proper amount of time here before we do the final rankings to end it up here. So we're revisiting an old concept that we did a long time ago in the original show. I think it was before Luke was even on the show. So basically, this was kind of like, oh, what if when the final Kiss show happens, what's kind of a dream set list that we would want to hear? And of course, now that it's reality, it's kind of more like what do we hope that they do on this last show or even on the tour? But I kind of think we went more for the very last shows, like that one final dream set list and show. And so, kind of the basis, real quick, is we kind of went discography, basically a song from each album. You're allowed to kind of stretch it here and there, especially like when it comes to the encores or if you just wanted to do a little something extra. I know I did that myself. Um, so yeah, that's kind of the general census. All the studio albums, of course. Side four of Alive, Smashes, Killers. Stuff that had new tracks on it. The solo albums, included all that for the most part. Um, so yeah, we're just gonna kind of get into each of ours, what we each came up with, and of course, this was one of the big things we were hoping to do live is to share your guys' input as well. But hopefully, we still hear some of that from you guys and hear what you guys have to say.
I know I'm
So,
excited for this. I'm
who would
excited
like?
to see what everybody said.
So, who would like to start?
Doesn't
I'll
matter.
start.
Okay.
I'll start then. Fine.
Are we doing this like we go through the whole list or like?
I think it would be easier to just go
Okay.
through our whole list and then one at a time instead
Okay.
of song by song. All right, so my set list, I'm not really. I guess you could say that in my show, I would be starting the show with the original four: Ace, Gene, Paul, and Peter, since especially starting with the chronological stuff. Um, So starting off the show, of course, Deuce. To me, that's the best show opener out of all of them. Just something about that riff starting, and then when you hear the bass line and curtain drops and all that stuff, it just gives you goosebumps still. Coming in next, we go into Strange Ways, which of course would be Peter on vocals, which would be nice. Then we go to Come On and Love Me, and then King of the Nighttime World, and then Making Love, and then we have I Stole Your Love, and then we hit Rocket Ride, and then this is also where Ace will do his guitar solo after this song, and then Peter back on vocals for Hooked on Rock and Roll, and then we have Wouldn't You Like to Know Me from Paul, Radioactive from Gene, Snowblind from Ace, and on this song, this is the song that Peter will do his drum solo. Is on Snowblind. Um, kind of similar Peter type drumming on this song. So I felt like this would be a cool one to, as they end it, Peter goes into his solo, something to kind of change it up and surprise everybody. And then we go into X-Ray Eyes. And then next would be when Gene spits his blood and does his solo. And then we go right into Naked City. And then we have The Oath. And then Paul does his little solo thing, which is obviously normally before Black Diamond, but in this case it's before I Still Love You. Give Paul that big spotlight, especially with the vocal performance. Then we go to Not for the Innocent, and this one here I just felt like it went so good together. Burn Bitch Burn. And at the end of this song, this is the song that Gene spits fire.
Yeah.
And then,
it does.
and so then we have Down on Your Knees. And so then this is kind of the cool part of the show that I would love to see them do, is like everything kind of goes dark. All of a sudden, like center stage, whether it's center stage or somehow like on the drum riser, you see a hologram come up of Eric Carr, and it's him on the drums, and then all of a sudden they go into King of the Mountain, him doing the intro and everything.
I just got chills.
Yeah.
Ah.
So then next up, wanted to give Paul another like vocal highlight with Reason to Live. And then we start picking it back up with Let's Put the X in Sex, Hide Your Heart. And then again, this is where I kind of took a little liberty. I went Domino, but then right at the end of Domino, we go into Car Jam 81. So once again, Eric comes out on the hologram. This is where he does his solo. But also, you have Ace and Bruce playing guitar on this, since, obviously Ace originally did it, and Bruce. So they're both playing it together with Eric as he goes into the solo. And then we go into Jungle, and then Within, I'm an Animal. And then to end the normal set, we're going to do Out of This World. And to give Tommy a little bit of spotlight, he's going to do his little, rocket thing, shooting rockets out of his guitar to end the basic set. Give Tommy a little spotlight there. So then for the encore, it's, we started off with Beth. And of course, Peter and Eric Singer are going to share the vocals on this version. Eric's still going to come out on the piano. He's going to be playing on the piano, doing his parts, while Peter's sitting on his stool at the end of the piano. And they're kind of, sharing the vocals. And then they bring everyone out, Ace, Paul, Gene, Peter, Bruce. I'm not sure if Vinny would be part of it in my head, but, maybe even still some sort of image or hologram of Eric Carr and Mark St. John. And then they do We Are One. And everyone, all of them are playing on it together. And then we hit Star Spangled Banner. And then, of course, to end it all, of course, Rock and Roll All Night. You cannot end a show without that, in my opinion. And then, just as an added little touch, as the lights come back up and the show's over, and then playing over the PA, they're playing Don't Touch My Ascot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then after that, God Gave Rock and Roll to You Too, which they kind of normally do now. But yeah, that's kind of my dream final show right there, I guess.
Oh, that's good. I like that. I got chills multiple times.
Oh man, they could do that hologram thing so easy with Eric. I don't know why they don't do it.
Yeah. Are you going next, or am I going next?
Yeah, I guess I'll go. I feel stupid now. I should have gone first. Yours was so much better thought out than mine.
Well, I'm sure that both of yours will be than mine.
So I had most of this as the current four, and then there's some special guests, I guess. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, so open the show with 100,000 Years.
Ooh.
Thought that would be nice. Curtain still up. You hear the badoo.
Yeah.
Curtain drops when everybody comes in. That would be neat.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. They could even still do the thing they're doing now, where they're being lowered as they're just playing the group.
Yeah.
Going into Watching You after that. Then She. And then changing it up and doing Flaming Youth. Some weird stuff. I should point out this too. This is a 100% fantasy. There's no way they play these songs. After that, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. Tomorrow and Tonight. After that, and then just because screw it, Eric does a solo right there, because that would be pretty interesting to do coming out of that song. As the solo ends, though, Ace walks out onto the stage. And then they go into Rocket Ride.
Oh.
Yeah. Which would be super neat. While he's out there, they go ahead and do Rip It Out as well.
Yes.
Which would be sweet. So then after that, he, waves and off he goes. And Peter shows up. And so they go ahead and do Hooked on Rock and Roll since he's out there. Then they get him out of there and they do Tonight You Belong to Me. And then Magic Touch. Then after that, Gene does his whole solo with the blood and all of that stuff, and they go into Naked City after that.
Yeah.
Gotta have Naked City there. Then Under the Rose, while they're out there, is one that I've always wanted to hear Gene do live. Would be neat. Going into Nowhere to Run after that, and then I Still Love You, which I figured would be a great spot for Tommy to do his solo after that, since that song's kind of solo heavy anyway.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Just kind of do a bluesy groove after that. Was going to have Vinny come out around this point, but then I wanted them to do Exciter, and let's face it, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Vinny to play on that one. So we skipped Vinny, but they're going to do Exciter. Sorry about that, Vinny. I like Exciter. And then we go into I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. But they haven't had enough yet, because after that they bring out Bruce. And they do just a whole bunch of stuff with Bruce here. They're going to do Secretly Cruel. And then Thief in the Night. Boomerang. Gene will do the fire after Boomerang, because they're being weird. Then they'll do Let's Put the X in Sex. And after that, that's when Bruce goes backstage while Paul does his sort of vocal / guitar solo. I'm picturing the thing from Animalize Uncensored.
Yes, yes. That's always been the Paul solo to me. Like, I wish he would still do it that way.
Yeah. Yes. Then they go into I Just Wanna. That would be perfect for a Paul little vocal solo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just Wanna. After that, they go into Hate and Within. Two heavy Genes right there. Since we skipped Unholy, might as well do those. And then, Because I'm a Dick, Dangerous after that. Screw You Guys, it's a good song.
I like that song.
Screw you anyway. And then they're going to end their regular set with Hell or Hallelujah. Kind of the obvious one there. But wrapping up the new stuff quite nice. So then they go back for a little bit, but then they come out for an encore, and they just bring out absolutely everybody for this one. Just do a short little set here with just everybody. Of course, they're going to start this out with Shout It Out Loud. I feel like that one would translate really well to having the huge group of musicians.
Yeah.
The chorus harmonies, geez, with all of them singing. While we're doing it loud, they go ahead and do I Love It Loud. Again, another one I feel like would be awesome with all of them wandering around. I'm picturing like Am I Evil Big Four style.
Yeah.
There's just like 400 people on stage. Rock and Roll All Night after that, surprisingly not ending the show, because I feel like that's when everybody's going to expect them to be done. They can still do the confetti cannons, everything they normally do, but then they do Black Diamond.
Ooh.
Because I feel like there's no better way to end a Kiss show than with a curtain slowly dropping while they're just hitting those A's over and over and over. And then, again, just because I'm a dick, the show is over. 10 solid minutes pass. A lot of the audience has already left. The curtain rises a little bit. And Gene, with a lot of his costume taken off and his makeup smeared, When You Wish Upon a Star.
Oh no, you did put that on there. Oh my god.
Just
You are not allowed to say anything about me ever again. Ever.
and that's it.
That would be fitting, though.
It was so good until you said that.
That would
Now
be fitting. It'd be a good way to be like, you guys made my dreams come true. You know, from a little immigrant kid, all that stuff. And then, like, what if the curtain, as it was coming down at the end of Black Diamond, it just said on the curtain, like, the end.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Oh, man, that would be so killer.
Totally.
See, I think in the middle of Gene singing When You Wish Upon a Star, Paul should just come and just pile drive him right off the stage.
Paul just punches him right in the dick.
He just grabs the mic like, I wrote God of Thunder.
Yes. That's amazing. Oh my god.
What do you have in store?
Okay, so I just did for just the 4 members that I would like to see the most, which were Bruce, Eric, Paul, and Gene. Like, those are the 4 that I would like to see the most, I think.
Eric Singer?
Oh, no, Eric Carr.
Okay.
Sorry,
So we're hiring a necromancer.
Yeah, we're hiring a necromancer. So I would start it off just how they do now with Psycho Circus, because I feel like it's just such a good opening song. And it's just like they're saying, welcome to the show, I think it's just a great opener. And then I would go into Time Traveler.
Ooh.
I was going to have Time Traveler open it, and I had Psycho Circus down lower on the list, but I thought Psycho Circus is just like the opening welcomer to it would be weird if it was kind of in the middle, I feel. And then we go into Creatures. And then I'll Fight Hell to Hold You. And then Naked City. And then Bruce would have a solo. And then I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. Let's Put the X in Sex. Love's a Slap in the Face. And then I'm a Legend Tonight. Modern Day Delilah. And then after Modern Day Delilah, I'd like to see Every Time I Look at You, it's just Paul with an acoustic guitar.
That would be cool.
Just a spotlight shining down on him, just acoustically. And then after that, Eric would do his solo, his Car Jam 1981 solo. And then Calling Dr. Love, Who Wants to Be Lonely, Rain. And then Gene would do his solo with his blood, and then it would start God of Thunder, Love Gun, Heller Hallelujah, Deuce, Come On and Love Me, and Coming Home. And then Paul would do his solo, and then it would do I Was Made for Loving You, and A World Without Heroes. And then it would end the show for me with A Million to One, which is my favorite Kiss song of all time. And then for the encore, it would go down, and then they'd come back out, and then they would do Heaven's on Fire, Lick It Up, and Tears Are Falling is how I would end it.
Nice. Is Coming Home the unplugged version?
Yeah.
Nice.
I like that version so much better. I mean, I like both versions, but that version is just...
Yeah, that one just blows it out of the water.
Yeah.
Completely. Nice.
I like nice, too, because it's kind of calm. Almost that it would lead into Paul's solo very well, I feel.
I like how you mix yours up. I like that approach. So, as usual, way back when we did it before, I'm going to have to sit and listen to all these set lists in order. Yeah. Just
I made a list on my Spotify. So I could kind of hear them all. I wish so that they all would have a concert ending, because a lot of the ones I chose kind of fade out. So I wish that they all kind of had an ending, so that way I could imagine it even better,
That's a good project, is try to find a live version of all them songs if they've done them, and try to piece something together.
Yeah, so cool. We should do that.
Wow. So yeah, that was cool. That was fun to revisit, and again, let us know what you guys think. What are your dream set lists for the final show or whatever? Let us know what you think. So let's get into these final rankings then for Chikara, and we're gonna get out of here after that.
Yeah, all right. One tie, but not an important one. Still get in there, knock that tie out. These are Kiss songs. I'm sure we all shouldn't be too hard to rank all. Surprising, actually. All of this was. I am literally baffled by our top. That's not at all what I was expecting. Okay, so since we have one tie, our dead last place is 13th place this week. It's been a while since we've done a big album like this.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
You remember we did a live too, and it's like, okay, I'm in 20th place. Yeah, so 13th place, all night. All night. All night. In 12th place, rock and roll all night.
Wow.
Christ. Yeah. That's all night. In 11th place, now I'm just, I was made for loving you.
All night.
Trying to stop myself from saying 1,000 times. In 10th place, Lick It Up.
All night. I'm going to say it every time.
It wasn't after the song titles. In 9th place, Thrills in the Night.
All night.
In 8th place, this is our tie. We've got I Love It Loud tied with Who Wants to Be Lonely.
Oh.
Yeah. In 7th place, All Hell's Breaking Loose, because that tie was so weird. In 6th place, Love Gun. In 5th place, Detroit Rock City. In 4th place, War Machine. And our top three, somehow, this week, in 3rd place, Heaven's on Fire. In 2nd place, Creatures of the Night. And in 1st place, Tears Are Falling.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was kind of a jump even. That's if you rewind the footage, you can probably even see the moment. I think we were still talking about our overall, and I'm trying to figure these up. And when I noticed that Tears Are Falling was number 1, I went, just like that.
We're going to have to look that up and see if we can find that point.
See, that's what I love about doing these comps like that, because it's like, okay, compare it to where that ranked when we did the actual album that these songs were on, and
Right.
how different it's always, turns out.
Definitely strange. This did, by the way, I forgot, this got a 6.9 out of 10 overall rating, which is pretty respectful. That doesn't put it at the top of our list by any means. Right off the bat, I'm seeing the first Fraley's Comet album has a 7.
Yeah.
The Eternal Idol got an 8.3. So, yeah, still pretty fair.
Yeah. So, of course, keep getting your votes in. Let's break up that tie on here. And, knowing you guys, you might change up the top 3 again, too. So,
right.
get them votes in. Let us know about your set list. And thankfully, this is not the one and only Kiss album we're doing on this particular 4K stuff. Coming up down the road, we have actually Greatest Kiss, which I quoted as my favorite comp. So, see if it still lives up to that. That's actually just coming within a few weeks. Probably about another month or so, I'd say. Next up, we have finally, I feel like it's been a while too. We're getting back into Black and Blue. It's In Heat. And then, of course, again, the Badlands album with Eric Singer, which can't wait to check out, and Ace Frehley Trouble Walking, which also, by the way, they are reissuing that for Record Store Day this year. It's the first time it's been reissued in like 30 years. Nice. So definitely a lot of great stuff still to come. And again, that's not the last Kiss album. We do have a few others on the list, at least a handful or more. So, please continue to get them votes in and all. And again, by the way, if you guys didn't notice on the Facebook page, I did finally get off my ass, and I paid Spreaker, and so now I've updated the last 5 episodes audio only, uploaded them to Spreaker, so now they're available there, and Spotify and all those other for you guys that only choose to listen, which we appreciate. So as promised again in the past, I'm going to finally start working on those old, original 4K episodes and getting those up, audio only. Probably, I'm thinking about maybe doing like 5 at a time, like, maybe 5 like each month or every couple weeks, something like that. I don't want to make you guys feel bombarded, especially with these last 5 episodes that I just threw all up at once. But definitely going to finally work on that now. We have more than enough space on our Spreaker account to get that stuff to you. And again, we're going to try to figure out this live crap, and hopefully maybe next week we could be doing this live as we tried to do this week. And we're just going to try to iron out these kinks in the system and see what we can figure out. And hopefully that could turn into maybe the future of the show is just doing live episodes, or at least, every now and then. We'll see. But all right, well, we're going to get out of here then. So thanks for the support. We'll see you guys next week on the Black and Blue album. Looking forward to checking that out as well. So see you then. Take care.